Your YouTube has to also spread the same message. What is that message? That Craig is all about excellence. So you can either promote your 3-step process to excellence, or you could just use it internally for yourself. But what you need to know is when you're creating a piece of video content, it has to either fit into betterment, benevolence, or freedom, because it always has to do with excellence. If it doesn't have to do with excellence, then it is not your brand. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Real Marketer Podcast. We believe that a successful, scalable real estate business requires 3 things: a brand that sells, systems and automations to accomplish more with less energy, and lead generation strategies that are built to scale. Here at Inabox, we call this the scale engine. Every week, I interview a different realtor and help them find their next big opportunity live on air by following this 3-step scale engine framework. And today we have Craig. Craig, how are you doing today?
How you guys doing? Doing good, Oliver. Thanks for having me on, bud.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Like I tell every one of our guests, that it requires a certain level of vulnerability to open yourself up live on air. Obviously, there's a lot of people going to be listening to this, so I appreciate you kind of opening up, sharing with us what's actually going on in your business in advance. So let's kind of start with like a 10-foot high-level overview of what's going on in your business. Tell us a little bit about yourself, both personally and professionally.
So a little about myself. I just had a birthday, 36 years old, single dad, 1 kid. My son is basically my why and the reason why I started real estate. I believe in any kind of entrepreneur career, your why is very important because that's what keeps you going and keeps you motivated. I've been a realtor for about, I'm from New Jersey. Primary South Jersey is my territory. I can go into Central Jersey as well. I've been that far. In my career, I've been a realtor for about 6 years now. Been with different brokerages, big names, everyone knows. Like I've worked with Keller Williams, Berkshire Hathaway, Remax, and I'm currently with Romano Realty, which is a more of a local boutique brand, I would say. I've been around the real estate world, I would say. I mean, I'm very, very knowledgeable. I took a home inspection course about 2 years in, so I'm very well versed in educating first-time buyers and talking them off of the ledge when we got to go through the home inspection process. I was a team leader. I had a team last year and the year before. Starting out 2023, I'm taking a step back to focus more just on building my business, getting my brand together a little bit, and then I may get back into the team aspect, but right now just the team aspect wasn't something that was for me. I do still believe in the benefits of having a team and leveraging efforts. And I just to piggyback and add a little bit about how I met Oliver and becoming a part of Inabox. So I've been an Inabox member for about a year now. Maybe a little less. I think I started like the first quarter of last year. I know I'm on his podcast, but I'm still going to big up Oliver. It's been a phenomenal experience. He's taught me and just opened me up to so many different ideas. It's one of those things as a realtor, understanding the importance of time blocking and just being consistent. And I would say that's what Inabox helps you focus on. And I'm not the best at it, but that's the point of working through the business woes. You figure out what you're not, doing as great and just try to be more consistent in turning that weakness into a strength.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Craig. So let's dig into a little bit. There's a couple of things that I like about your story here. Number one is your son is your why. That's obviously going to be really important. And you mentioned that your why is going to be very important in any kind of career, specifically, or more in particular, I would say entrepreneurship, but really with anything, your why is going to be extremely important.
Right.
South and Central Jersey is more your area. You took a home inspection course, which for me kind of shows the willingness to kind of grow and scale on your own accord, which is why a lot of what we do here at Inabox is we talk about being a real estate business owner instead of a real estate agent. And I feel like you kind of already had that mindset. Well before we started working together also, which is awesome. So you were a team leader, and in this year, you kind of decided to step back and focus on your solo business. What were some of the reasons, number one, that you wanted to become a team leader? And then what were some of the reasons that you decided to step back and try solo?
So, I mean, prior to real estate, I've always had that entrepreneur spirit. So I worked in for like multi-level marketing. Let's just call it that, multi-level marketing companies. And that's when I learned the value of I won't even want to call it recruitment, but just not doing everything on your own. You know, if you're able to train, develop, and teach someone how to do other aspects of the business, it's less that you have to do. And you know, and then in terms of income still it's coming in. You're leveraging your education. You know, some people, when I took that home inspection course, for example, I'm a lot more knowledgeable and confident when I'm speaking to a first-time home buyer, when I'm going over a home inspection or something like that, versus a first agent, you know, someone that's been an agent for 1 or 2 years, not used to overcoming objections and used to seeing what they're going to, you know, what's going to be on the report. So I would be able to put my mind into another agent. I can't do it 100% because they didn't take the course, but I can try to educate the best that I can.
I want to stop you there because I want to
Yeah.
understand what you mean. You said you're able to put your mind into another agent. Can you clarify what you mean by that?
So I'll give you an example. With my teammates, we would have like mock training, and I believe if you start out with a buyer, I always do a buyer consultation, and my consultation is probably about 45 minutes to an hour. During this, I'm going over what to expect, you know, in the real estate transaction. I'll go over the contract. Everybody wants to know about those terms, but at least 30 to 40 minutes of my consultation is spent only on home inspection. The home inspection aspect of the contract, what are their rights, you know, in dealing with an inspection. So once I've gotten so used to having that conversation that my teammates, I'm teaching them to approach every buyer the same exact way. You know, it just goes such a long way. And then actually, when you actually get to the home inspection, they're not so much on edge or on eggshells, worried about, you know, the smallest thing, because you've already kind of primed them and let them know what to expect. So that's what I meant.
Okay. So there's a lot of first-time home buyers that you're kind of talking about, working with first-time home buyers. The fact that you went through this home inspection course kind of helps, as you, in your words, were kind of help push them over the ledge and make that.
It helps me like verbally, like, because home inspectors, their job 50% is number one, to cover themselves for liability. You know, because you're leaving yourself open. Anybody can come back and just point finger to the home inspector. So 50% is liability coverage. The other 50% is just general information. They're not licensed experts.
Gotcha.
So once it's the terminology when I'm speaking to the client and I'm letting them know, like, hey, it's going to be World War III on that home inspection report. I'm letting you know that now. But understand, they're not a general expert. If you have a concern, you know you're going to probably have to pay $100 to a plumber for a service call to have them come out and evaluate exactly what's being pointed out. And once you hear it, the response come from a licensed expert versus the home inspector.
Gotcha.
It brings the senses down a little bit. It's like, oh, it's not as bad as the home inspector made it. It's their job to make it like that because they have to be as general as possible. They can't make a statement and they're putting a foot in their mouth. They're not licensed.
Okay. So which demographic, I'll ask then, do you enjoy working with the most?
Good question. I'm 36, so I would say basically anyone around my age, you know, either you're a first-time buyer or you're in your second round. You know, you're selling your first home and you're looking to buy up. So if we had marketing term, would that be millennials and Gen Y?
I mean, I suppose so. But yeah, I would say probably like older millennials. I'm not.
Yeah.
What's the name? Adina Schlesinger, I think her name is. She had a special on Netflix. I believe it was called Elder Millennial.
Yeah.
Clever name. But I think that's kind of what you're talking about. So the elder
Yeah.
millennials, as it were.
I mean, you asked me about comfortable. So comfortability, those are the people I can relate to the most. We're going through the same kind of life, life situations. We have kids, we just relate a lot more. So I can have not just business conversation.
Right. So it's more that it's much more just about your ability to kind of have a conversation. Obviously, you can talk to anyone, but it's your ability to have a conversation with them in a way that is you're talking about the same
Like
stuff. Thinking about the same stuff.
relatability is definitely a good way to just secure loyalty to you as because me personally, I've never done it. I don't believe in having buyers sign like an exclusive buyer agreement. Typically in New Jersey, that's a document that holds the buyer to you for a specific amount, whatever is mentioned in the contract. I don't believe in doing that.
Why not?
Because I feel once I have my consultation and I present my value, should be good enough that I differentiate myself from others, and I just expect loyalty. The ones who want to work with me, and the ones that don't, just don't.
That's fine. So I'm cool with that. So the way that, as you kind of mentioned, the idea that you have right now is you're not interested in tying somebody in, as it were. You're interested in being the top of mind person anyway. That the BRA, the buyer representation agreement, isn't really going to accomplish a whole lot anyway, other than maybe turning these people off. Which means, by the way, that in order to scale this, not so different really than anybody else, but I think very much so in your strategy, there's going to be a lot of emphasis being put on content, on community, on kind of value being given first, because that is really what's going to, I guess, connect them to you. It's not really just going to be you sign on the dotted line with me, therefore you have to work with me. It's you've been working with me consistency. You've seen the value that I continuously put forward. And so by the time you're going to work with somebody, it's a no-brainer. That's kind of how we've got to approach this.
Yep, exactly. I agree.
Okay, so let's look at where you are right now and where you want to be. First off, where are you right now in your business?
I'm be honest. I'm kind of in a stalemate. I've been a little stagnant with. I mean, we've talked before on our private coaching calls. Coming out of 2022, the team aspect of my business really drained me a lot. If anybody understands leading other individuals, it's very important to have the right people around you, because if you don't, what's going to end up happening is, you give more of yourself, and then you don't have enough energy and time for your own self, and then you get burned out when you give someone a task and then it's just not followed through. It'll be very simple, and it's just not done whatsoever. So I lost focus a little bit, not extremely a loss of focus, because I still, did, good numbers, I would say, in terms of volume. But where I wanted to be is I was looking to double my numbers from last year, and I didn't. I basically did the same exact production, maybe 500,000 more than what I did the year before. So your question, where would I want to go this year? I want to double my production. I did about 4.5 million in sales last year in 2022. I want to get to 10 million by myself, and I know I can do it. It just takes some focus and commitment.
Gotcha. Okay, so what needs to happen in order for you to get to that 10 million? Like, how much what's the average house price in your market?
I would say like 250, maybe, no more than. Because I mean, my average on all my sales, because I can sell a house for 500, 600, but then I'll have 5 at between 2 and 230. So that brings the average down. So I would say my average is around 250.
Okay, which means that we're going to need approximately 4 transactions.
A lot of units. Let's just say
40. Yeah, we'll need approximately 40 transactions then.
Mm-hmm. So your question was, how can we get there? So I've been still in the baby stages, and I really got to put the gas to it. That was a promise to myself in 2023. The ideas I've been getting from Inabox, different individuals that you've brought in. I am going to start my YouTube channel. That's the biggest thing that I saw, as I can get a lot of leads that way. Majority of my business now is 100% basically social media and referrals. I don't pay for leads. It's not that I don't believe in it. It's just I'm not at the point to just waste money, and I just,
I agree
trial
with
and
you.
error.
We've
I just
actually
don't.
spoken about this, I think, in the past. I agree with your decision not to pay for leads yet. I mean, like I've said, we've spoken about this, but it's not like leads are a bad thing, but you've got to be in a position where you're willing to lose a few $1,000s before you see anything in return. And you've got to be willing to be patient about 6-7 months. Like once it starts building up, once you have a whole flow from start to finish, yeah, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of work to kind of get to that point. I agree with you. I don't think you're there yet. I think focus is probably the biggest thing. So you said, okay, let's break this down a little bit. So you've got $250,000 a transaction, which means that approximately 40 transactions will get you to your goal, which is fine. Just full disclaimer, I think that I don't know what the market's going to look like in 2023. I anticipate that 40 transactions this year is going to be harder than 40 transactions last year. I think the goal this year, as much as 40 transactions is a big one, but it's to set up all of the systems and everything in place so that even if you didn't hit 40 transactions this year, next year you'd have a lot easier time setting that up. And I think that your head's in the right path, right track by saying YouTube channel, for example. That's going to be a big one. Right? Because if we relate back to what you were saying before about the not needing really to sign a BRA, the only reason you can get away with that is because you're providing so much value so consistently that it's a no-brainer. Of course, they're going to work with you. But you need to be providing that value consistently enough so that it is a no-brainer. Because not signing a BRA because you're providing so much value is a nice idea in theory. But if you don't execute on that value, which you're doing right now, and we need to kind of scale that up. But if you hypothetically weren't providing on that value, then that I'm not going to make you sign a BRA strategy doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Understood.
Okay, so the YouTube channel is going to be a big one as well. We're going to get into that in a moment. I know you said that you have a Facebook group as well. What's happening with the Facebook group right now?
It's active. I'm not as creative, I would say, within the Facebook group. I'm just sharing activity. But I am I'm not even going to say delayed. I just didn't have a lot of activity to just always be placing in there. And the only activity that is even being shown is being done by me. No one else participates inside of the Facebook group.
Got you. Okay. So on this call, what I want to do is as follows. Again, I'm much more focused on how to make sure that you have a consistent flow of leads coming in, that you're consistently providing that value. And I think that when we get the systems in place to make these strategies happen as easily and simply and as effectively as possible for you, then those 40 transactions, the 10 million, let's say, of volume either this year or next year will just continue to get easier and more and more and more. And that's really what scale looks like.
Right.
So I think there's two things really that need to happen. And I think the two things that need to happen are your YouTube channel and your Facebook group. Okay. It's just that consistent value. It's consistent content. The great news is that your YouTube channel and your Facebook group also will bleed into your actual social media strategy. So for example, let's say like this video right now that we're doing, this goes onto my YouTube channel, goes into my podcast. It also goes into my Facebook group as a Facebook Live. I'll have the video footage to send to a video editor to break down into multiple reels. When you do one thing in one area, it's very easy to kind of repurpose that. And that's really what I want to talk about because I want you to be able to accomplish more, but also work less.
Use music to my ears.
Okay. So let's look at the people that you want to target right now, because I think to create a Facebook group, for example, where you're just shooting videos blindly, I suppose, like I'm all for throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. But I think right now, as you mentioned, focus is really important. So you said that you prefer working, let's say, with, you did say first or second time home buyers, but I would specify more. It's the type of person, it's the demographic, it's the age of that person. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So what are people, because your demographic, your avatar is someone such as yourself, what are you, from a real estate perspective, pretend you weren't a realtor. So let's say Craig in another life wasn't a realtor. What type of stuff would you be interested as it pertains to the real estate market?
I remember I had such a hard time creating this avatar. Business oriented. I'm always pushing the envelope to think about the next entrepreneur self business idea. So they don't have to be entrepreneurial like, but just focused on goals. The importance of family is a big pillar in their for their why. Um, uh, an individual who takes pride in maybe being involved in the community. You know, if they hold a title on the school board, or maybe a political title, you know, within the community. Um, and then someone who has, I would say, children who are involved in activities. You know, whether it be sports, you know, musical, you know, any extracurriculars after school. That's my ideal, I would say. Is that kind of
Yeah,
rough?
it is. And I'll tell you what, there's a guy, he's actually the name, I'm going to give you a name of a guy. He's a realtor in North Carolina. I've had like one conversation with him ever. His name is um, Martin Sims, I believe.
Okay.
Sims, I believe. And I think the way that you're talking right now reminds me of him. And I've seen his content. I think yours will look different, just to be very clear. But I think one thing that he's always talking about is he's talking about professional development, self-development, and again, the execution of it with you, I anticipate will look quite different in him. But I think that there is something that is permeating through this demographic, and everything that you're saying business oriented, pushing the envelope, entrepreneurship, goals, family, why. It's all about one thing. It's about greatness.
Mhm.
And it's about greatness in your own way. I think that as a 36-year-old Craig, realtor or not realtor, let's say you were, I don't know, a plumber, you probably just wouldn't be working for somebody. And if you were, it would be with a goal of whatever that goal is, but it's pushing the envelope. It's greatness. How do I get better, better, better?
Mhm.
And I think that the way that that pertains to real estate, it's not really so difficult to think of a way that real estate kind of helps you accomplish that. It could be financial independence. It could even, maybe instead of greatness, you could call it freedom. But whatever it is, probably for me, I'm thinking the way that you're describing it, greatness would probably fit the bill more. But if we're thinking about how to kind of accomplish this loftier goal than just purchase a home, buy or sell a home, what is that? And I think greatness is probably the word that I would discuss. Do you kind of like the direction before we do dig into it a little bit more? Do you like this kind of idea, this
Yeah.
direction?
No, you're right. I would greatness. I had excellence in my head, so it's kind of like,
Excellence.
yeah, same way.
Yeah, I'll put that also. Excellence. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna just talk grand and I don't want you to take action on anything that I'm about to say, but I just want you to see, let's say, the finished product, big picture.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's say you've got a YouTube channel going on where you talk about excellence. You've got a podcast where you bring in different entrepreneurs in the area. You talk about excellence and greatness, and then you hold entrepreneurship summits in your area. You maybe have local business leaders talk to young, hungry entrepreneurs, and you're kind of operating this. And Craig now is this entrepreneur in the central South Jersey area that's just giving back to the community and helping people kind of accomplish their true potential and elevate themselves. And the way you do that primarily is through real estate. So it's all about self-development, self-betterment, and freedom. And then what does freedom, what does self-development look like? All your entrepreneurship stuff. What does freedom look like? Real estate, purchasing your own real estate. That's kind of the idea of how I would monetize this idea of, I guess, this movement really of excellence.
Okay.
Does that kind of look profitable and implementable to you?
In a sense, I'm trying to see it. It's kind of vague, but it sounds
Okay.
good, I would say.
So it's okay. So I mean, I'm gonna get really granular and really simple first. I guess the big picture is, if you were, let's say, the leader of a community of young, hungry entrepreneurs that spoke about excellence and not only spoke about it, but actually did it and did the work, and then kind of built this, I guess, community of excellence, and you kind of connected successful entrepreneurs with up and coming entrepreneurs, and you're the leader of that community. Does that sound like something that would be profitable for you?
Yeah, it'll be easier. Well, when you say profitable, I'm just wondering. I hear it. I just want to understand how the profit would be made. Like, am I
Yeah.
charging them for advice? You know what I mean?
So, okay, so this is where I don't know your demographic as well as you do. This is why I'm asking you, just to make sure. But the idea would be, let's say you prefer working with 35, 36-year-old entrepreneurs, self-starters. They don't necessarily have to be entrepreneurs, but they're people who are committed to greatness and excellence. Let's say these are just the people that you resonate with. Then you start this community. All that community is doing is it's introducing you to as many of these people who are in that same boat as you, that you can just talk to more and more of these people. And every single time you do anything, it's Craig Realtor. I'm a local realtor here, and this is what I do. And you're just basically creating this environment of a whole bunch of like-minded people, a lot of which are in a position to buy a home, and it all kind of ties back. So, for example, the YouTube channel, you could show homes, but well, this is actually a pretty cool idea also, is you could talk about, let's say, why is it that you do what you do? I want to provide the best life for my family. So I want to show you this home right now. It's an absolutely sick home. And just imagine being able to wake up every single morning and look out at this view right here. Like there are a lot of different ways that we could take it, but the main idea is you're building a community. You're positioning yourself as the leader of that community, and you're getting connected with more and more people who are the types of people that you want to be working with, the types of people that you want to be doing business with.
Makes sense.
So it's almost like a backdoor approach, where instead of going to people saying, "Hey, do you want to buy a home?" you're building a network, you're building a community, and how do we, let's say, tightly relate that right back to real estate, so that it's not like you're just creating a community that has nothing to do with real estate, and then you're just going to somehow manage to swindle a conversation back into real estate. We want to tie it back in really nice and tight, if that makes sense.
It does.
Okay. So let's say, again, this is kind of, I'm trying to build something right now as we're talking right now, but let's say you were to create, for example, I don't know, the 3 steps of excellence. And one of them is like the three characteristics of excellence. And one of them is betterment. One of them is benevolence. And one of them is freedom. Let's say when it comes to freedom, it's all about owning your own place, purchasing your own properties, and home ownership, really. So now you've created this method to what excellence actually looks like. And right there at the top of it is freedom, is home ownership. Now, instead of basically promoting yourself as a realtor all the time, you've now kind of flipped the switch, where you're not talking about, do you want to buy a home? Do you want to sell a home? Because then you're kind of just talking to anybody who might want to buy or sell a home, but you've actually directly tied home ownership to a greater goal, whatever that greater goal is. In your case, it sounds like it would be excellence.
Okay.
Give me a little bit of feedback right now. I want to know what's going. I want to know what you're thinking about this, honestly.
So I'm not completely blank, but it's just vague for me. Like I don't have it fully concentrated in to say, okay, I know exactly what I'll do when I hang up on this call. You get what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I haven't really gotten so granular with your actual next steps, but before I do that, I want to know if, again, I know it is kind of vague right now. I want to talk big picture and then break it down into smaller actionable goals.
Well, I mean, because a lot of the stuff that I just got to perfect and be consistent with, I'm calling it the basic stuff that I've learned through Inabox. You know, I'm consistent with when leads are coming in, I perfected, okay, I have the funnels created. So we all know where, we have to place them in. I'm at this stage now where I need to create platforms and content and things like that to keep driving in the leads to flow into the funnels that I want.
Yes.
And that's my most concentrated area right now, is just getting that done, being consistent, and then just putting out good quality.
Okay. So I like that you just said that, because I think that this now allows me to kind of hone in to the area that is more practical to you. So everything that we've talked about is still 100% relevant. I'm just going to directly apply it to one thing. So when you talk about creating content, what content are you going to be creating?
Well, I was already just again, consistency is the word for this podcast because it's up. So social media content, I'm consistent. I've created reels, and then there's times where I will fall off. I do have, um, the itinerary that we kind of went over together for a Monday through Sunday kind of idea of what to put up there. But I'm still learning. The algorithms, the best times to
Mhm.
put something up. Um, it's not a what I've learned by doing it. It's not a right or wrong answer. You just got to do it and just be consistent. Have categories to talk about, and you
So
can.
what are those categories? Like for you right now, what we're looking at, when we're and you could go back and see the stuff that you've already created, but right now I kind of want to protect. We'll start with a blank slate
Blank slate.
because we're trying to create content for someone, right? So your person, like we just had another guest on the show, and her person was, like I think it was like 65-year-old Sally Smith, who's like a senior citizen. So the stuff for Sally Smith, let's say, even if it's like I'm showing homes, like that would be one thing, maybe that could be for everybody. If you're creating content all about self-betterment and entrepreneurship and hustle and it's nothing can stop me, I'm all the way up, like the
Mhm.
music in the back with, like, I don't know, you're running along, like Sally Smith doesn't care about that, but your person does.
So I would say so. Okay. Um, Self education. Um, Health. Family. And these are when I'm saying this, I'm still I like the premise that you gave me of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. These are the categories that I would focus on those specific days, and then that's the umbrella. So if health is the umbrella, I could share. It would be a motivation video of me in the gym, or I'm sharing some information that I might have, something I got from a doctor's office. The importance of drinking water 3 times, something that relates to your health and how it will impact you in performing in business
Mm-hmm.
or in life in general. Family is 4, self-development, family, um, world news.
Well, one second, because I want to make sure that the goal is not to just have a category for each day just because we need a category for each day. This is why I like the idea of the excellence, because if we break down excellence into a process, it makes it a lot easier for us to create content. So what's my scale engine process? There are 3 steps of it. You know them off the top of your head?
I don't.
Brand, automate, scale, right? 3-step process is brand, automate, scale. When I have to think of content, everything that I do either fits into brand, it fits into automate, it fits into scale. When I'm talking to you right now, everything that I'm discussing in my head either fits into brand, it fits into automator, or fits into scale. Okay. So I have my own process. It's not just for you. My process is also for me to follow. It allows me to gather my thoughts. So as we were talking, the way that I stay on track, the way that I make sure that I'm not just kind of just throwing out fluff, is by following my own process of brand, automate, scale. So right now we're trying to identify who it is that we're trying to target and what kind of information we're looking at. That is the first part. That's brand. More specifically, we're looking at messaging and we're looking at marketing. So I know that in my head because I have that process that I follow. So your process, let's say, what I was talking about before of your 3 steps to excellence, we said, or I'm just going to write something down here. We've got betterment, we've got freedom, and then we said, what was the last one? We said betterment, benevolence, I think we said.
Benevolence, yeah.
Betterment, benevolence,
and freedom.
And freedom. Like if you wanted to do some alliteration there, you could think of another, like a synonym for freedom that starts with a B if you'd like. But for the sake of this podcast, we're just going to say betterment, benevolence, and freedom. So I look at betterment. So we have self-education and family. Those were the categories that you gave me of different things to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just look. Sorry, no. When we said betterment, we're looking at self-education, we're looking at health. So that's what I meant. Self-education and health are betterment. When we look at benevolence, we look at family. Benevolence is family, like it's like your why. You said family. You were talking beforehand about community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about why. When you were talking about freedom, you talk about finances. You could talk about like hustle, let's say like baller, like living like a baller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
1 second. Okay, so I'm writing down words for each of these steps of your 3-part process, or shall we call it like the 3 steps towards excellence is betterment, benevolence, and freedom. Inside of betterment, you've got self-education, you've got health, so that's 2, and throw in another one if you want. Inside of benevolence, you've got family, you've got community, you've got why, like mission, let's say. Inside of freedom, you've got talking about finances, you've got talking about like your lifestyle, like just living it up.
Mm-hmm.
So now if we break it down into those 3 things, we've got 7 days of the week, let's say. So every day is a new category around that. So we've just said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. We've got self-education, 1, health, 2, family, 3, community, 4. Your why is 5, freedom is, finances is 6, and then lifestyle is 7. So now we've got every single day our content revolves around
Or the person I'm targeting, basically.
Exactly, or revolves around excellence.
Mm-hmm.
So I've literally got, again, so self-education, health, family, community, why, finances, lifestyle. Those would be your 7. So now if we wanted to break it down also to create a real, like to get really granular about this, and it will be recorded, like obviously this call is recorded, so you could just go back and listen to this part here. But if we're looking at, let's say, what type of content you're going to be posting, I love the idea of like a gym video, right? So let's say on Wednesday, every Wednesday, you do like a quick gym video of you working out, push-ups, boxing, whatever it is that you're doing. I think that's something that your avatar, which we have not yet named, which we won't do this on this call, but your avatar will appreciate that because your avatar appreciates excellence. Mm-hmm. And going to the gym is a part of it. Let's say self-education. You could do like a quote, let's say, from your favorite, from a book that you've read. Literally, anytime you're reading, just bookmark a quote that you like, and have like your own template inside of Canva or something that you literally just copy and paste the quote in there. Boom, stick it on. So now you've got a reel, you've got a post, and that's just of those 2, right? Family, you post a picture of your family. Community, you could have a video of you going around the community, like doing work for people, like literally just talk to the camera. Hey, I'm here at the local shelter and this is what we're doing. I believe families are really important. Community is really important to me. So if you haven't yet, ask yourself, what are you going to do this week to give back to your community? Right? Why? Like whatever that looks like for you. Every week, talk about the importance of a why. You can even honestly, like, let's say, like even honestly, like let's say you're feeling like emotional, your son's doing something, like you post videos of your son playing basketball. Mm-hmm. That is your why. Like you're already doing why content. Like it doesn't matter if you like basketball or not, because basketball doesn't have to do with excellence. I mean, maybe it does in a roundabout way, but no, excellence is your why. Your why in this case is manifested in your son playing basketball. So now just be a little bit more deliberate with that content and recognize that your son playing basketball is either your family or it's your why. And then finances, like a different piece of financial advice every week. And I like for example, carousel format, right? Like three steps to financial independence. Boom, boom, boom. And I don't know, but like you're only doing one of these a week. So it's not hard to think of a few different tips. I mean, go online, look it up anywhere. And then lifestyle, one of those, like I mentioned, nothing is stopping them all the way up. Like you're, I don't know, running along the boardwalk, or you're showing a beautiful home, or something to just make you look like a stud, because that's another part of excellence. Like those are 7 categories that we've just spoken about. If you break down each of those categories and you think, what content can I create in each of these categories? And you plan that content ahead, and then becomes very, very, very easy for you to be posting every single day, because I agree.
It's the planning ahead part. That's the part.
Yeah, I think that, I know we've made the social media calendar in the past. I think that obviously it's not exactly a secret that your brand is going to be ever evolving. And so your brand now is different than the last time we spoke about, time I had a one-on-one call about your brand. I would actually adjust that schedule that we created last time and create it more like what we're doing now. And it's all around excellence. Now, there's two more pieces that I want to talk about. We just spoke about, for example, Facebook, Instagram, all your social media content. Let's look at YouTube. Let's look at Facebook group.
Okay.
Your YouTube has to also spread the same message. What is that message? That Craig is all about excellence. So you can either promote your 3-step process to excellence, or you could just use it internally for yourself to guide what you're doing. But what you need to know is when you're creating a piece of video content, it has to either fit into betterment, benevolence, or freedom, because it always has to do with excellence. If it doesn't have to do with excellence, then it is not your brand. You may as well make a video, like I said, for Sally Smith.
Right.
Like, it's not your people. So what do your people care about? They care about excellence. And excellence is it's betterment, benevolence, and freedom. So it has to do with one of those three things. But that's not to say that you then can't like go and show a home, because showing a home has to do with freedom, because it's all about home ownership, right? You could also talk about, let's say, do a video promoting a charity that's happening. That's benevolence, right? Betterment, you can do a video recapping a book that you read, for example. I'm not sure exactly what that content is going to look like. I would start out something nice and easy. Like, for example, do once a week a video, and then 1 week is going to be a betterment video, 1 week is going to be benevolence, 1 week is going to be freedom, for example. But now you've given yourself a strategy to your content that you can go for a lot longer, because you know you're not just shooting content, and you know what you're doing.
Right.
I'm going to take a breath there and before I get into the Facebook group, because this is a little bit more intricate, but how is this content strategy kind of looking and feeling for you?
I mean, I like it. It's always, it's one of those things where it fills you up. You're excited. I'm telling myself to keep this, stay consistent. You know, we have these calls, and just for the world out there, Oliver is always like this. He's always with this energy. He always brings you, these are ideas, and I'm talking about that I know are 100% effective. Like, he'll tell you, you just got to work and do it. And that's when I'm being accountable for it, Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like one of the biggest challenges that I have. It's actually funny you say that. One of the biggest challenges that I have in, let's say, promoting Inabox or getting more clients is that at the end of the day, everybody wants a shortcut. And
there isn't one.
I would say that the only reason that anybody could possibly call something like Inabox as a shortcut is basically because I'm going to save you a few years off of your time by telling you there's no shortcut. Let's just get to work, and let's just start working smarter. That's the shortcut.
Yeah. Well, the shortcut is, I would say, what I had to learn. Like you said, when you met me, I kind of had the business mind a little bit, but I had to kind of go through a bunch of mistakes and falls and So if somebody first started out, you're saving them 3-4 years of mistakes to construct their business right in the first year.
Yeah.
So I will say it is, in a sense, when we think about it, it is a little bit of it's not a shortcut to success. You just expedite it a little bit for them. All they have to do is do what you're putting out there, and 9 out of 10, they'll be successful.
Yeah. But again, it's important to note it's and as you kind of mentioned, but it's not easy. It's simple, but like for you, we've like broken it down. I mean, somebody listening to this might be like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. It's so easy. But I'm telling you, if you're at home thinking like, that's so easy, let me totally do that. Like, it's easy now for the first week or 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. And then it will get hard because you'll be like, oh, I just don't want to do it. And then if you continue doing it and then you start to see results, then it will become really easy again. That's what scale looks like. Like, there's a threshold. So, okay. So that's good. So it seems like we're in a kind of a good place before we get into the final step of it, which is your Facebook group.
Okay.
Again, I'm on the fence if I even want to talk about your Facebook group, because I don't want to overload you with content. So let me ask you, do you feel like, sorry, I don't want to overload you with like, let's say, jobs to do. Do you feel right now like the social media content calendar that we kind of just created in theory, that you're going to go off and you're going to really concretize and write down, plus the YouTube strategy that we just spoke about, that you're going to go ahead and create your own schedule, do you feel like you have the bandwidth to discuss Facebook group, or do you think that this is a good first step and you're going to, let's just go?
Yeah, the Facebook group is something that I would probably hold off on. I mean, yeah, the YouTube stuff and the content we discuss is like, it has me really fueled up, and I really just want to put some action to it immediately and get things going. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So I think that this is a really good place to stop the podcast episode now. So thank you so much, Craig, for coming on the show. And anybody listening to this, like I mentioned, like I've said to Craig, and like I will say until the day that I die, there is no shortcut to this. I guess, like I just said, the shortcut, I suppose, is that I'm saving you a bunch of years of possibly looking for a shortcut and saying, now there is no shortcut, guys. Just do good work smarter instead of harder. And if you do that for long enough, then you'll be successful as quickly as possible. That really is a shortcut. So, Craig, I do appreciate you coming on the show. If anybody listening to this, number one, wants to execute and implement some of the strategies that we've spoken about, you can go to goinabox.com/call, book a call with me, and we'll kind of discuss one-on-one how or if we can make this happen for you, what that would actually look like in your business. Also, if you wanted to be a guest on the Real Marketer podcast and get an hour of coaching out of it as well, then definitely send me a DM. Just check out Oliver Borr on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. And until next time, I'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me, man.